Hey, so this is Canva, the big wide world. Um, so one of the most important things in establishing a really efficient Canva program, I would say the most important thing if you're working for an organization is establishing your brand. So um, unfortunately, this is a Canva Pro feature, which you'll have access to, Damien, but there are definitely ways around it, Natasha. So over here, we've got the brand, and I've got a specific tutorial that I've already got filmed in setting up your brand. If you're interested in that, I can send it through to you. But essentially, the brand is a library of your fonts and colors and logos so that it's really easily accessible. And as we know, having a brand presence that's really consistent makes you really trustworthy and reliable. So I'm going to, for this webinar, focus on the brand of our Connect 25 colors and logos. So you can see it there. We have lots of different brands that we create. You can, if you have the Pro account, you can create as many as you like. So as you can see, we've input all our colors here and our fonts. You've got title, subtitle, heading. And again, these are all customizable. And as we go into it, you'll see why this is easy and makes it more efficient. So that's just one thing. But if you'd like a little bit more of an in-depth tutorial on that, just let me know and I'll flick it to you in a drive. So we'll go back home now. You can see over on the left-hand menu is to go home. Now, creating the right canvas to start your design is really, really important. So obviously there's lots of established size options. We've got a presentation. That's just your stock standard PowerPoint size, typical screen size presentation. We've got social media. So if you click presentation, that will open up the standard size. But if you click on social media here, it will open all your various options. And so we've got all of the most used options here under popular. But again, there's always another way with Canva. There's multiple ways to do everything. So you'll see up the top these buttons here, and that way you can filter if you're looking specifically for a Facebook size. You can do Facebook post, Facebook cover, Facebook ad. And so it really can niche down on each of the different sizes. But I know that sometimes Facebook or even like ticketing websites, like I know, oh, sorry, is someone interrupting? No. I know, for example, Mintix, if you use that as a ticketing platform, can have a really niche image size. So if there is something where you want to upload an image and it's a specific size, you can come over here and create a custom sized board. Or Facebook and Instagram and all your social media platforms as well will tell you the exact pixels that it wants. So you can type that in here and make a specific canvas size, so your width and your height, and then it will automatically be in pixels. But again, if you're designing something for print, maybe you're doing a billboard or a really specific flyer, you can do something in centimeters, millimeters, inches, etc. So that's all there in that little drop down as well. So to start with, we will create a presentation. So I'm going to click on presentation, and we will enter into this canvas. And so the canvas is this white bit here, and then everything outside of it is the tools to edit the canvas. So over here is the Canva editor bar. And so this is where we start with adding elements, as you know. And I'm just going to run through to start some really simple shortcuts that I find really helpful. And after this, I'll put a great document into an email that has every single Canva shortcut you could ever want. But some really useful ones are just clicking T. You don't have to do Control T or anything. you just click T on your canvas and it will add text. Same thing for C is for circle. Same thing is L for line. Oh, and so L for line, or you could do R for rectangle. Those are the ones that I use most. So we've got R for rectangle, T for text, L for line, and C for square. So those are some basics that I use all the time. And then you've got your classic Control C, Control V for copy and paste. Control Z is undo. But again, these are all in the document that I'll send through. So have a play around with some of those shortcuts in your own time. And I love using these shortcuts. They really help me with efficiency. So I'm going to just select all of those and delete so that we have space on the page to add other elements. How's everyone feeling? Are we all keeping up?
Yeah, good.
So far? Great. Great. Okay, so we're going to start with adding some text. We click on this text button, and again, you can see my brand selected here. So my brand fonts that I've pre-selected in the brand kit are here automatically, and obviously you can change those later, but I'm going to click to add a heading. You just click and it'll add onto the page. You can also do, for any of these elements along this bar, a drag and drop onto the page. So I'm sure you all know this, so I'll just run through it quickly. To change the size of the text, you can drag the corner buttons up and down, but to change the size of the text box, you use these bars on the side here. So that changes the length of the text box, but not the size of the text. And then we head up to what we call the toolbar. So when you've clicked on an element, whether it's an image, an icon, some text, you'll have the toolbar that comes along with clicking on it. So here you can change your font by clicking on the font button up here. Now, Natasha, a way around not having a brand kit is to find the fonts that you use all the time. And once you've hovered above it, you'll see that these three little dots come up. You can click on those dots and star the font. So by starring the font, it will make sure that it is always kept up the top here so that all of your fonts are really easily accessible. So hopefully that is helpful in just keeping your fonts up the top, because I know what it's like when you're trawling through for a font and it's taking 20 minutes because Canva has a bazillion fonts. So make sure you make use of that. The way that I use that starred fonts, because obviously we use the brand kit, is if I am in a design and I'm looking for a font and I find something that might not be exactly right for the design I'm using right now, but I'd really love to come back and use the font, I star it for that purpose as well as something to come back to. You can also star other things like shapes or elements, and we'll get to that in a little minute. So yeah, to move, as we know, moving around the page is just a simple click and drag. And one thing that is really kind of taking your design up a notch is moving your text spacing. So we've got the letter spacing is this button here. We've got letter spacing. Again, it's just a drag up and down. Maybe you want to fill a certain spot and you want it to take up a bit more room, or you've got the line spacing, and I'll just go, I'll add another line in so we can see how that works. We've got the line spacing as well to edit. And then this is anchoring text in the text box. So if you want the text to sit right at the top of your text box, you can click that one, or, I mean, it's centered right now, so it won't make much of an impact. But sometimes when you have a font with a really tall T or something, it can move it, shift it up. Okay, so that is text. Does anyone have any questions about moving text or using text or editing text? Fantastic. Excellent. So next we will move on to elements. Now there's a few main elements that we'll talk about today. We'll talk about shapes, graphics, photos, and frames. So let's just start with shapes because it's a fairly simple one. There is, again, hundreds of shapes that you can choose from to add to your designs, and shapes are a really useful thing. They can be used as secondary backgrounds. They can be used as text boxes. You can really change shapes how you see fit. So we'll just add this square to the page. And as you can see, it's automatically made the color one of my brand colors here. So I've clicked on it and the toolbox has popped up. So there's some really awesome things you can do with a rectangle even. You can add the number of sizes, which it won't be a rectangle anymore, but it makes it really easy to use different shapes in that way once you've added one on. And corner rounding is something that I use a lot. It really does soften it. If you're using it as a text box, softening the corners can really help. And again, that's just a slider bar on this little icon. It looks like a corner. And then adding a border is another thing that you can do to up your design a little bit. So it's quite like adding a border in the Microsoft suite of Word. You can do a single border, a dash, a dot, and then this little slider here is the weight of the border. So can go in and out. And then you'll see now that we do have a border in play, a second little color bubble has popped up here. So that is the color of the border. So I'll make that border orange. And then if I was to decide I didn't want a border anymore, you just click back on the border and you get rid of it by clicking this little button here. And the color button for the border has popped away as well. Okay, so that's shapes. There's plenty to choose from here, and they can be overlooked, I find. I really like adding a shape into a design in some aspect. You can crop shapes too and just use half of them. Yeah, they're really great. And just also for context, most shapes have a corresponding frame. So we'll go to frames in a second and look at how we can use those in designs as well. But we'll do photos first. So there's something to add into our frames. So Canva has a really, really excellent range of stock images. So you can use them as you see fit. If you pay for the Pro account, you can use any of the photos. And if you use free, you will be able to use, I would say, at least 50 or 60% of the stock images on Canva are free, but there's a really easy way to filter them so that you're only seeing the free ones if you like, Natasha. So let's create, say, a design about tennis. I'm looking for a photo to go in a tennis design. So as you can see, not a whole lot of these have the Pro icon, but some of them do. So you can filter it by price here, and you can just click this toggle of free images so you don't have to be disheartened by all the Pro images that you don't have access to. So if you just have a look through the free images, there's heaps there, and this is a great tool. So let's add this photo of the tennis balls, and we can resize just as the same as a text box. And then again, these bars change the shape. It's almost like a crop feature, but you can actually crop the image properly up the top here. Now, if you wanted to add this image, but you actually wanted to make it the background of the image, you can do that. It's not as simple as a click, as a single click is to add it to the image, but to add it to the background, you do have to do a drag and drop. And this is a bit more tricky because there is an invisible little border around this, this canvas that you can't see. So you need to drag, you click and hold, and then drag into the border. So the border is usually about 1 centimeter of your design. And so if you just put it in the middle here, it won't make it the background. But if you drag and hold it over this invisible border, then it will automatically click into the background and you can just release then. Now, this can be a bit tricky when you're adding the background photo after other elements. So you can see it's covered up our square. So you can come to this position tab and drag your layers back or front. So right now the photo is selected, so we can click this to back button and it will bring everything in front of that. But if you have lots and lots of layers in play, you can click this layers button and drag things front to the front or back and just order them in an appropriate manner. That can get a bit tricky, but I do find that making sure all of your layers are right is a really important thing, especially if you are sending something to print or putting it out. Sometimes I've done things before. I've put an image in and it's covering a little detail like a date or something. So then checking this layers form here makes sure that I can actually see everything that I know is on the page. Okay, so there's a lot going on. Let's delete some of these elements. We'll delete this photo again for now, and we'll go back over here to elements, and let's add a different image. We'll do this one with the tennis rackets. We won't put it into the background. We'll just single click and put it on the canvas. So now we've got this image here just floating on the canvas. Let's go back and add in a frame. So you can go back to the rest of the elements with this little button next to photos. That takes us back to the main elements page. Now these categories will reorder based on what you use most. So I don't use frames very often, but they're down here. For me, these frames are fantastic when you need an image to be a certain shape or size, because obviously you can't crop an image into a triangle or a star. So this is really helpful. You've got lots of different shapes, but again, you could search. So let's search for a star. And there's all of these different star frames. So let's go for this groovy 7-sided star, hey? And we'll drag and drop that on. Again, you could just do a single click. Now, the way to get your image into your frame is just a simple click and drag over the frame. Now, maybe that image, the frame has cut off parts of the image that you would like to have on display. You can simply double click and move the image around or zoom it in, or maybe you'd like to rotate it. You can do that over here. So you can really get the best of your image into your frame. So that is editing into a frame. Obviously, you don't have to do a star. There's lots of more basic frames like, you know, close to circles or semicircles. In this space, you can also do really great mock-ups. So you can do computers, you can do phones, all that sort of thing. They'll all be sitting in frames. And again, there's hundreds that you can choose from. There's letters, there's numbers. So feel free to have a browse through that in your own time and find some fun frames. Okay, next is graphics. So that's this little item here. So there would be honestly millions of Canva graphics, and just like images, you can filter them based on price. So Natasha, you're only seeing the free ones and not having to trawl through all the pro ones as well. So the way that these graphics work are there are hundreds of artists, and you can sign up. Anyone can sign up to be a Canva contributor, and whatever you design, you can put into the Canva library for people to use, and then you can choose whether or not you do it as a free designer, or you would get royalties if you decide to do it as a pro designer. So again, let's go with the tennis theme. We'll search some tennis graphics, and hundreds come up. I wish it told you how many items and how many pages you had to scroll through, but it doesn't. So we'll filter it again by price. We'll make sure we're doing free images. There's lots of cool ones here. So yep, you can choose any of these. You can also filter them. If you want something to be animated, you can tick the animated box, and you've got all of these animated graphics now to choose from. Just be aware that if you do choose an animated graphic, when you export your design as a PNG, it won't it obviously won't stay animated. You would have to export it as an MP4 to keep the animation. But it will still export as a normal looking PNG. It won't ruin anything. It will just be still. Okay, so let's go back and we'll add this tennis ball. And again, resize. You can crop these graphics as you see fit, rotate, flip. They kind of act as images when they are static graphics. So those are kind of the basics of adding elements to your design. Do we have any questions? Have I missed anything? Is there anything that you'd like me to talk through before we move on to next? We'll talk about manipulating a template and using templates. Okay, great. So we won't save anything here. We'll go back and we'll go home. So back to Canva. We go, you click that little button there, this one, and then you go home. So as I'm sure you both know, there are thousands of templates to choose from in all shapes, sizes, and forms. But for the sake of this, let's say we're designing maybe a flyer. So we simply search flyer into the search box. Now you can filter these as well because there are hundreds to look through. So you can filter them based on a style. You can do minimalist, playfill, gold, illustrated. There's heaps of different styles here to choose from. You can also do categories. Sometimes there's a few more categories here. If it's a social media post, there's usually a few more. Flyers, there's just that one category. And then you can minimize your options. So that's just if you don't want to see as many. So let's scroll through here and choose a flyer to edit. We might do, let's find one with an image. We'll do this fall block party. Hey, it's got a few different good elements. So with most of the templates, they'll give you size options. You can choose A5 and A4. And just keep in mind that Canva has a printing service. And so they will often be gearing you to try and print with their service. So here they'll be asking you to choose a paper type and a finish and everything like that. You can just skip all that. You can just edit the template. There's obviously no pressure. You can to print, you can just skip all of that. I do have to say though, if you ever need, Canva does, the printing service is really, really excellent. I've used it a lot over the years. So we'll go for an A4, we'll skip all of the paper settings and we will customize this template. Okay, fantastic. So you've got your fall block party here. And let's say we're going to call it a radio school broadcast. Now, as you can see, the text has stayed in the smaller text box and we want everything to be on the correct lines. So we'd extend out the text box by dragging the little bar here and make it a little bit smaller so that it fits. Now, you can see that little red error mark that I'm getting there. That is the print bleed. So that's the bit that Canva's saying this will be cut off when you print this. Don't worry about it too much if it's just a digital flyer, but keep it in the back of your mind if you are going to be printing the design. And again, you edit the text as you would. Now, a really great way that makes editing these sorts of things easier is changing the colors with Canva's help. So let's say we want to make this yellow fit with our brand colors. Obviously, our brand colors are popping up, but you might need to input yours through the add a new color basket here. I'm just going to make these yellow bubbles into this neon color. So I've clicked that, and you can see that, yes, the original dot has changed, but also down the bottom, we've got this change all button. So this is saying that everything that is this darker yellow color, would you like to change it to the neon? So click that, and it should change everything that is the darker yellow to our neon yellow. And as you can see, it's done that. This works as well with fonts. So let's say we don't like this font. We want to change it to a different one. Let's choose Tan Pearl, just because it's up the top. We click Tan Pearl, and again, it pops up, change all of these fonts to this font here, and we'll change all. So that's a really easy way to take a template that all of these templates are different and easily change it to your branding. I'm going to undo that because this new font is really curly. Okay. And now you can see that we've got a frame here in action, a circle frame. So you can either add your own photo through your uploads. So you would click this uploads button here and click upload files. And then again, that would take you to your file manager. It'll look different based on whether you're on Mac or on a Windows computer. You can then upload from your files, or you can choose from one of these stock photos that Canva has ready to go. So let's add, so radio school broadcast, let's add this school photo into here. And again, you can double click to move it around, crop it, and then add any details that you need to do or change with the text. So you've got your flyer here now, and you go, okay, this is a great flyer, but I want to create a social media post too. So there is an easier way to do that without going out and starting a whole new canvas and starting a whole new design. So you've obviously got your add page button here, but that will just duplicate this page size. So this little button here, the arrow next to it, actually allows you to add multiple different canvases to your workspace with multiple different sizes. So we're going to click this little arrow, and we want to create a social media. Let's make it an Instagram story, for example. So now we've got a new blank canvas, but it's a different size. So it's the Instagram story. And while we're at it, we will do one for Facebook as well. So we'll do, and Facebook isn't popping up straight away. So I'm going to search in the search bar, Facebook, and we'll go Facebook post landscape. There we go. So now we've got a few different sizes. The easiest way to then duplicate the design down and edit it on different sizes, it's obviously taken the background image color, so we don't need to worry about that. But what we will do is we'll grab from outside of the canvas and we'll drag along and highlight everything. So everything's highlighted, and you can either right click and copy, or Control C, and then we scroll down to our next workspace. I'm just going to zoom out down the bottom a bit, and we will paste. Control V. So obviously the Instagram story is a different dimension, so it's going to look a little bit different. It's pasted a little bit smaller on here, so we'll just zoom it out and make sure it's centered, so you can make it snap to that pink line that goes down the middle. That's making sure it's centered. Now you've got all this space down the bottom, so you can just play with these icons a bit. Instead of, moving this one circle down and then trying to grab the Saturday 7 p.m. and move it on top of there. An easier way to do that, I'm just going to undo, would be to drag over those two elements together so that you're grabbing them together, and then drag them as one. And then if you are sure that you want to keep those two together, you can click Control G, and that will group them. So see, now I can't really separate them. I can't take them apart. You can, you just have to hover above it and click ungroup, and that will ungroup them. but that makes it really easy so that you don't accidentally grab a piece of text or anything when you're trying to move something else. It can get really tricky when you've got a lot of pieces of text and elements in play. So we'll just make those two a bit bigger, and we'll make this frame a bit bigger so it fits the space a bit more cohesively. We'll move that down. There we go. And that is now filling out the Instagram story space more effectively. And we'll go into some design principles and look into creating these graphics effectively in the next Canva webinar. So we won't go too deep into the design principles and what looks good and what doesn't here. This is just about getting things onto the page. And then again, we would do the same thing. Obviously, it's a different layout again for the Facebook page. But you would just, again, grab everything, Control C, and then head down to our Facebook page, zoom in a little bit so you've got a better view, Control V. So obviously it's pasted it still in a portrait orientation, but it would then just be a matter of spacing everything out so it doesn't look too out of place. And again, we'll go into how you might do this most effectively in the next webinar. Okay, so that is manipulating templates. Do you have any questions about that or templates, or how you use templates or find templates? Great. Okay, excellent. So next, I'm going to go through a couple of my favorite features, and then we will wrap up. So just quickly, I wanted to just show you the duotone feature. Now, this is something I use every day, and I have found it. I use Adobe InDesign and a bunch of other design products, and this is one of the best things I've ever found. So it's called the duotone feature, and I mostly use this in the case of logos or single color images. So I'm going to just grab our Connect banner. And I want to say, I know I'm probably telling you things you already know, but we need to be careful when it comes to brands. Don't go just willy-nilly changing logo colors. Make sure you're looking at a style guide before you do that. But this is just our kind of Connect logo and our Connect banner. So we select this single color banner and we click this edit button up the top. And obviously there's a lot of different ways you can edit it, but I'm going to scroll over under effects to duotone. So I'm going to click on duotone, and it gives us already a lot of color options to choose from. But if none of these seem quite right, you can create your own duotone. So sometimes you have to change both the highlights and the shadows. In this instance, because it's a white logo, you should just be able to change the highlights. So let's say we want it to be a bright pink. You can change it, but you can make it any color. And I found that when you have an event and you need to change a logo to match a design, or to match your event colors, or if you want to do something for Valentine's Day and you wanted a red logo variation, this is a really helpful way without going back to your designer or whoever made your logo to change this. But again, just be careful with changing logos. You can also use this duotone feature in a really fun way. I'll just use this image as an example to make your designs really fun. So we'll go back to FX and duotone, and you can do this for photos as well. It obviously is a very different impact. Oh, sorry, Natasha, the effects panel. So we'll just click on any image or logo, and you click edit up on the left-hand side up here. And then once you've clicked edit, you just have to scroll down a couple of scrolls to get to effects. It's just under filters, and duotone, it's the fourth one along. No worries at all. And so we've got that is a really, really helpful thing. And then one other thing that I use a lot, and it's just a really practical thing, is QR codes. So Canva can produce its own QR codes. So if you go down to apps on this left-hand menu, it sits under projects. You can search QR in the search bar and the QR code. There's lots of different generators. This is the one that I use, and it's actually the Canva design. It's called just QR code, but I'm sure most of them have the same sort of functions. So this QR code is really helpful. You just click on it. You input your URL that you'd like to send people to. Let me just grab something. For example, I'll grab this Canva home and we'll put it in here just as an example. So we're going to canva.com. You can customize it, which is what I love, because sometimes you really don't want an ugly black and white logo plaguing your flyer. And so you can try and match it to your background and change the color to make it bright pink as well. And then the margin is the space around the outside of the QR code. I'll make it really big here so you can see it when it's applied to the design. And then you simply generate QR code. And so this is the margin here. And then you can update the code with color. I'll make the margin nice and small now. And it simply updates. And that's a really great way to make QR codes look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing on your designs and make sure they fit in a little bit more. And you don't have to use an external QR code generator. So Canva has a built-in one. And then the last thing that I will show you is what we call the image upscaler. So I'm going to find an image that I've uploaded that might not be the best quality. Let's just use this one. And so we've got this image here. And in the edit button, still under the same one, edit, we can scroll across here. Oh, sorry, maybe it's not in there. Down a bit further. Sorry, bear with me. There we go. It's under apps. Sorry. It's so all the way down at the bottom of the edit panel, we've got image upscaler. And so sometimes when you input a blurry image, it just really ruins the look of your design. So you can use this to upscale your designs. And I believe you can use this on free as well, both the QR code and the image upscaler. So we'll just upscale it by 4 to start with. And we'll go then upscale 1 image. So it might take a second to process. And it just brings up the pixel number of the image so that it's a little bit high quality, more high quality. So before it adds to this design, it will ask you if it looks right and everything. So you can see here, so it's probably a bit further away, but you can do this little scroller before and after, and you can see that it has, in fact, made the image look a better quality. So then you would click to replace the image. And so that is about it from me. We're going to go into questions. So if you do have any questions, please let me know.